User in your channel started recording.
Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, Jason Daniels, and special guest, John Hammer. Hey, guys.
Good afternoon.
Welcome, John. It's been a while since you've been on the show. I'm glad to have you back. Tell the group what you've been up to lately and what have you been doing? What's going on with your team and such?
Well, I've been pretty quiet, honestly. I've dialed it back pretty much everywhere. Spent a long time as the manager for No Excuses Racing. I got overworked with it and wasn't going the way we wanted it to go, so decided to step down from the manager's position, and we kind of regrouped with a much smaller group of people, probably the same people just about that I started with back in 2011. So it's Premier Racing now, and it's really great to be with all the guys again. But it's pretty low key for me and for us. We just kind of do our thing now.
Premier, all right. Yeah, you know, these teams, they ebb and flow. My team as well, just really cycled through a bunch of people just recently and got a bunch of new faces around. And it happens. Let's talk about that a little bit, John. I mean, does this happen in all the teams, or is it just something that it seems like you get a certain group in, and like you said, you went back to a core group and you're kind of starting over, huh?
It really was my decision to do it. It could have carried on the way we were carrying on if I wanted to carry the torch, but it's a lot of work is what it comes down to. And by the end of the day, after an hour drive each way to work and driving all day, you get home, you're trying to manage all the personalities. I mean, we had great people. Everybody was good, but it's just tough. You get a lot of racers together and it's difficult. And I think the hardest part, at least for me, was the amount of work that it took. It was crazy.
Yeah, I hear you. Managing a team is a lot, and I do a lot of empowerment. I try to get other team members to step up and be, do things that need to be done, kind of thing. So I try to keep my involvement to a minimum, but just because of the reasons you say. You got a regular life, so.
Yeah, it was time to end the job. Time to get back to having a lot more fun.
All right. Well, I hope you're having fun now.
Having a blast.
All right, good. Well, we're glad to have you. Let's get going. Let's talk NIS, my favorite series. It's an oval series. Counts towards oval iRating, but guess what? We ran at Watkins Glen for our oval iRating this week. And killed mine pretty much. I'll talk about my results here. Wednesday, fixed P23. Ugh. And I pretty much, that's where I qualified. That's where I ran. I had a little forward backwards, but not much. I had a great run on open. P10. I mean, top 10 for a road course. And NIS is huge for me. What a great run. I qualified actually 16th. And that was the ticket. I mean, I can't believe how much track position is so big into where you're going to finish in this race. I mean, there's very few drivers out there that are marching through the field. You run where you qualify pretty much.
And I think that's not just NIS. That's road courses in general. You see that actually a lot even in the Grand Prix World Championship Series. The guys that qualify up front finish up front unless you have something fluky like someone off track twice during qualifying. Those are really the only guys that you see charge up the field. But Watkins Glen was very much single file, at least from what I saw.
Yep.
And I thought you ran pretty much on rails on your 10th. I watched a good portion of that race. There was one, maybe two cars that were coming up with you, and they cycled through pit stops and were driving a lot more aggressive, a lot more kind of all in, and making more mistakes. And you were just passing them back up. So it was some ebb and flow that way, but pretty much you stayed top 10 and you kept hitting your marks.
Yeah, that's the thing. Kept it on the track, and I didn't do that on Thursday when we ran the fixed. I ended up P23 there. I did wreck a couple times. Actually, went off. One time in the gravel, another off of the sweeping corner. I suck. I just felt really bad on Thursday. And what's interesting is I ran so good in the open the night before. I'm literally running the same set, the fixed set, but I just felt like I was running like garbage the next day, and I have no idea why.
I spent a lot of time this time around on our chassis, and I think I was in the third split. I was in the first split on Sunday. NIS. I actually ran an NIS race. I don't race much. There's a theme to that. So we raced Friday night back up. We raced Friday night, I think it was, in the A Open or something. Brian Bennett, and I was crewing for Brian, and that's a fuel mileage race. So the whole time I'm soft talking Brian not to kill the car. And we came home P2 in the Open with it, and it was quick. I qualified in the top 10 in top split on Sunday morning, but I was not doing as I say and got aggressive and looped it twice, and I paid the price. But it was we had a great, I wouldn't say we had a great car. We had a much better car than we normally do, and it was pretty fun. Hardest work I've ever done for like a 20th place finish, though.
Well, that's the thing. If you loop it, you're done. You're not going to get back your spots. I mean, literally.
Unless they loop it in front of you.
Well, exactly. I mean, unless they blow it too. But that's the thing. There's no cautions. Okay, so you're not going to catch up. If you go off track or you loop it or you stop at all, you lose all those spots, and you're probably not going to get them back.
Yeah, my buddies did really good. I was really proud of them. They did a great job. It was fun to watch.
Yeah. So Jason, you ran Thursday with me. You ran a different split, but how'd you do?
I ended up 18th. I was actually feeling pretty good about Watkins Glen. This is my first run through the NIS. I'm still getting, every track is new to me. So I'm still getting experience. I was intimidated by road courses, but I was running some consistent 115, 114s in practice, which isn't winning any poles. It's not winning any races, but I was feeling good, and I just was not able to duplicate that in a race. I was slow, I was loose, I was inconsistent, and I was just never able to find that consistency. But I did the repairs I need, got back on the track, and that's something that I found. I was actually in bottom split, and a lot of people, once they wreck, they do give up. So I gained a lot of spaces just by sticking it out and not giving up, and that got me back to 18th. I only lost 3 I rating instead of probably the 40 I should have.
Yep.
I did have a interesting decision that I made. I just wanted to get your opinion. It was after I was getting lapped the first time. So second had just gotten by me on the front stretch at the start-finish line. And I completely missed my break point going into turn 1. I had a split-second decision because I knew I was running him over. So the split-second decision I made was to goose it right and actually dive bomb in front of him and stay on the gas to completely get off the track before he made the turn. And I kind of sacrificed myself so I wouldn't hit him and ruin his race and really piss him off. And it actually worked. I ended up not making contact with him. The gravel slowed me down, and I didn't blow my engine in the wall. I had 5 minutes for repairs, which is really significant on Watkins Glen. But kind of in the end, I sacrificed my race for that, but I would have run him over, maybe blown my engine, maybe blown his engine if I hadn't done that. So in the end, it felt worth it, but it was a completely selfless move, just in a split-second decision to make.
I don't know about if it's worth it. I don't know. I mean, would Kyle Busch do the same thing if he was in the same spot? Probably not.
Not at all. Kyle
So-
Busch is also not bottom split in NIS.
So what would Kyle Busch do? You ask yourself that. No, I have no idea. But
He
I
wouldn't
don't
miss the
know.
break point
My-
going into turn one.
My reaction is you try to save your own race. You know, you don't sacrifice, so to speak, your car to save not hitting somebody else. I don't know, John. What do you think? Is there ethics here?
I would applaud the move. Well done is what I would say there.
Oh, there you go.
Kyle Busch would miss the brake point going into the turn. So the right thing to do there is if you know you're going to take him out, don't take him out.
Yeah, maybe
Racecraft.
it was the right thing.
I also could have nailed him right on the front right and taken us both out and pissed off a guy for life, but it was a risk I took at a split second. And in the end, it actually did save my race because I didn't go on a head-on collision basically at a high speed.
Probably still thought you were a tool as he saw you fly by.
Oh, he had words for me. Don't get me wrong. He said, "You ever try to wreck me again?" And I explained himself. He's like, "Okay, I understand. My bad."
Interesting. Well, NIS, I'm glad Watkins Glen was over. I loved how quick the race was. That was really nice. And what's next? Michigan. So probably going to do some practice tonight. Get a set together, maybe. I hope. What do you guys think about Michigan? You ready?
This doesn't have any right turns in it, right?
A little bit easier.
Okay, good.
So I'm trying to be at least a week ahead in all of our chassis work for us, and it's going well again. We're back on schedule, getting back into the groove. So we were done. I would say we were done with the base chassis last Wednesday, and Thursday we did some testing quickly. And then basically I was done Friday night and we beat the hell out of it over the weekend, and Sunday night I made the last tweak. So we're pretty much ready to go on Monday. That's how our schedule works.
Ah, nice.
Good way to stay
I'm
ahead
also-
of it consistently.
We're also kind of working with Black Hole Motorsports with Joel Putty and a really great engineer over there, Dave Mercer, with our engineer, John Schulte. He's really, really good, builds real dirt cars and stuff. The guy's phenomenal. I just kind of take all the stuff and put it together and build chassis. So I had some luck when we were, Ryan Lowe was looking for a crew chief, a chassis builder. So I sent him some stuff. We worked together for a few days. It didn't pan out. But the tangent here is that I'm ahead a lot now because I'm sending chassis over to a DWC team, Christian Schalliner and the One Up Motorsports guys. It's an informal arrangement, but I have some sponsors on the cars, but that's really forcing me to be back on the schedule I was at. So if you can be ahead of the game, you're not fighting everybody who's been good at the end of the week.
Right.
It's hard
Are
to
you
do,
ever-
though, to be that disciplined.
Right. So one quick question about what you described as far as getting your setups done early, like a week early. Have you ever been caught off guard by iRacing making some kind of change, as they often do, that, makes all the setups whack?
I'd like to say that there's nothing they can't do to the car that I can't fix in an hour at this point.
All right.
But it doesn't mean it's going to be the fastest. Historically, and the guys who are with the team and who have been with us and not any longer will all say that one of the advantages we've always had is being able to adapt really quickly. And a lot of times, a lot of the other teams are catching up to us. And then when they do, they kind of go by us. So that's not ever really been a major problem.
Right. Cool. Well, I'm excited to get done with the road courses and on to the rest of the ovals here. I was just looking at points. I'm 21st and 25th in my division, second division. So I can't wait for the drop weeks to come and see where that moves me. If it's going to move, I'm hoping it'll move me up.
Yeah, if you're in Division 2, you should be in there with a bunch of guys from Premier, Jeremy Johnston, the Carter brothers, Ryan Bennett, all I think a lot of them are in Division 2, so.
You know why I'm not doing as well this year? It really, I can blame it on dirt. You know, when dirt came, I'm serious. I mean, when dirt came out, I lost 400 or 500 iRating, and I have really yet to completely recover from that. And you know, your iRating determines how many championship points you get in these finishes. And if you have a lower iRating and these other guys in Division 2 have a much higher iRating than me right now, they have more opportunity for more points.
Yep. That's why we run hosted dirt.
Yeah, I learned the hard way, I guess. So let's move on to dirt. I didn't run any. Well, what about you guys? You guys do any dirt?
I like the 410 winged for fun, but it's just for fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't done any. I'm waiting for my dirt license. I hope it comes. All right, next, let's go into some of these topics. I guess, Jason, you and I will trade off starting here, but I'll start off with new recruit to our team, David Flowers, posted up a video of a truck race he was in. And he caused an incident. You know, it was an accident, a racing incident. But when I saw the video, I was like, wow, this is a great example of dirty air. And what happened is he's going really fast through the corners, and he's behind, he goes underneath this guy, kind of goes up across his wake and goes above the guy. So first he was below him, then he was behind him, and then he was above him. And as he made that transition from those 1, 2, 3 spots, it upset the truck, and that truck came around on him. It basically got it loose. I couldn't believe what a great example it was of what dirty air can do to a car. You know, when you go, from being in clean air to dirty air to clean air, and boy, it just really upset the truck. Kudos to iRacing on the physics there. I mean, it's just spot on. You always hear that in IndyCar, in real IndyCar racing, that's a problem, that they experience that a lot. All right, what's next?
Next up, the Peak Auto Series ran at Indianapolis.
To turn one.
Zach Novak
Problems
picks
behind
up
in corners
first
1 and
Peak
2.
Auto
It is
win.
David Rattler, the 09 Ford, is backed into the outside
All right,
defense,
Zach.
and that'll
Well
be
done.
all she wrote. Caution.
First win.
Lap
We had a lot of
97.
first-time winners
Zach
this year.
Novak going to come across the start-finish line at a slow pace
The
behind
forum
the
drama was pretty good
iRacing.com
afterwards.
pace car.
Oh,
The
was it?
result gonna be
Did I miss
just
that?
as sweet. First career
It's still
NASCAR
there.
Beginner Series win. Zach Novak, your
is this the
winner
part
tonight
where
from the Indy.
they're wrecking going down the straight, and they can't, keep it together, and it was like a total wreck fest?
I watched most of that race because Christian had the Q chassis in it, so that was pretty good.
I missed the live race, and I did see the recap video that they put together, and it was an interesting turn of events, the whole race, actually. Some huge incidents as well.
They keep bunched up there at Indy, especially at that level. Not something you really see kind of in lower splits, but they trust each other, and that kind of can lead to bigger wrecks.
Right.
It's not much different than watching the A Open or the NIS top splits.
Right. Well,
Cautions are about the same. It's not that the cautions are bad or anything, but the average cautions aren't much different. They're like 5.5, 6 cautions per race for DWC.
there have been some clean peak races, though, but this was definitely not one of them.
Yeah, I'm just saying the averages are about the same.
Right.
Fun to watch, though.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of good times watching these races lately. Some really good racing going on, lots of action. So
I was pretty excited. It was the first time that one of my all-time career goals, if you want to call it that, to have a chassis up there in pro with Ryan Lowe. It was between myself and some other team that he didn't mention. He ended up going with them. He's like 11th in points, or 8th in points, 11th in points.
Ryan actually moved up to 9th in points after that race.
He's one spot out now.
Zelensky still leads, followed by Alfala, Ryan Macaluza, Corey Vincent, Zach Novak, Marcus Richardson, Christian Chalonier, and Logan Clampett rings out the top 8.
Yep. So cool. They're going to have some kind of chase, and I don't think I completely understand how the points are going to work for that. So
I believe they have one more race until they cut for the chase.
all right. So we'll have to learn about that. There's not much information that I've seen about it, or I would know about it. All right, next topic let's jump into is reports of connection problems. Kevin Bobbitt from iRacing staff. We are aware that some members are experiencing connection issues. We are monitoring the situation, but have not yet identified any anomalies. And this was posted August 5th. And 7 pages follow of iRacers saying, yeah, I can't connect.
They came back and found out that one of the servers was only allowing IPv6 and not IPv4. So it'll be interesting to see if that resolves the problem. But they're going to have to do some ping tracing and stuff and see what's going on. I was part of the last ping trace test, and they had a bad server from their host.
Aha. Mystery solved.
Probably that again, in my suspicion, but it takes time to shake it down.
Right. So does that mean the people that had the problem had IPv6 turned on, or?
I don't know if that's the answer, if that's the real problem, because some people were running like, it's called dual stack, and they were having the problem. So it seems like an iRacing server connection problem, though, at their headquarters, because all the hosted sessions for an entire hour, nobody could join any of them. And then it rolled over to 8 o'clock, and then everybody could join all of them.
And those are literally servers in different parts of the world, too, when you look at a list of hosted, right?
Well, yeah, but all the U.S. ones were a problem. You couldn't get into them.
I see.
That also coincided with the 6 hours at the Glen. A lot of connection issues with that as well. This is probably related.
It's going to be a wait-and-see deal. They'll get some people, and they'll do some ping trace tests, and they'll sort it out. It takes time.
Yeah. All right. What's next?
Next, iRacing is pairing with World of Outlaws to do a ticket giveaway. They did this actually last weekend to win a free pair of tickets to a World of Outlaws race near you. I was just looking to follow and retweet, and they notified their 10 winners. So another good sponsorship pairing, World of Outlaws.
Heck yeah. Remember, not too long ago, iRacing gave hot passes to the NASCAR race to some lucky iRacers, and now a chance to win tickets to an actual race again. So pretty cool. All right, next up is very exciting video about day-night transitions. iRacing has released a 51-second video showing, hey, you asked for it, day-night transitions are in development on iRacing. This footage shows a work in progress. And what did you guys think when you saw this?
To be honest, I'm in wait and see mode. I watched it and I said, cool.
Yeah, let's see how it really works, huh?
Yes, I'm not naysaying iRacing, but early releases can be months, a year.
What
I'm
was
glad that
interesting?
they gave us some communication on it though, and I always criticize them for that. So it was pretty cool to see some communication.
Yeah, I was going to say the week before they released this video, we actually talked about a topic on the podcast where people were tweeting Steve Myers from iRacing about, hey, what's the deal with the day-night transitions? And we actually talked about it on the podcast, and then sure enough, they put this video out the next week. So maybe they're listening. I hope so. But they also said in a tweet right after that, this displays only a partial implementation with a clear day sky model. We are still working on volumetric clouds, dynamic exposure, etc. So kind of a follow-up, legal disclosure. Hey, this is very, rudimentary still.
Well, the upside of this is that all the things that aren't 100%, like the surface model, the tracks themselves, the abrasive quality of the tracks, the perfect tire miles, not perfect, the more variables that you add in, the less focus that you really need to have, in my opinion, on each of those little individual problems. Because as the track and the stuff becomes more complex, all the different variables, it's like road racing, there's not 2 corners, there's 20 of them.
Right.
So the complexity will help all of the other things, so that's good.
I just want to make sure the track changes according to what you see as far as the day-night transition. I don't want to just visually see it. I want the track to, behave like that too.
Oh, you would imagine it's iRacing, and that's what they'll end up doing, so that's probably why it takes so long.
Right.
Cool deal, though.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. So that's going to be really neat in the 24-hour races. Or the Coke 600, or events like that where you transition, from day to night or night to day.
It's really the ramifications of this are so expansive because it actually changes the weather. We have what's called dynamic weather right now, but we really don't. All we really have is a static sky, right? And then we have a dynamic track. So there's wind. The wind changes. The sun doesn't come up, the sun doesn't go down. So the track temperature can't change because of the amount of sun exposure with cloud cover, lack of cloud cover. And that can change the track surface really quickly because the surface absorbs a ton of heat.
Yep.
And
that's what
the
I was
physics
trying
that
to
are going to
say.
be key.
I mean, I don't think it even has to be super perfect or anything because we're not in the real world, but we have our own world. So as long as it works, like the connectivity between the sun exposure and the change in the track, as long as the track changes in the right direction, that's a big bonus, a big plus.
Yep, there you go. Very well said. Okay, Jason, what's up?
Next, after 10 years of inside sim racing, Darren Gangi is leaving the site that he helped create.
That first show right around August 15th,
Oh, no.
2007.
Yeah, I was surprised by this. I actually caught this live
It's been a long road. It's been a long
on their
road.
YouTube
We've
channel.
met a lot of great people
I just
and
happened to
great
be doing
contacts
nothing
and-
when it popped up on my phone, and I started watching at least the first part of it.
But it's for the
But
best. It's for the
longtime
best
host of Inside Sim Racing, Darren Gangi, is retiring. He actually indicated he sold the Inside Sim Racing brand,
and just really
whatever
fair to
business,
John
it's a
and the rest of the
business.
company.
He sold it to some other person who has been nameless so far.
So, yeah.
It is not John, the other host.
It's that
They did confirm that.
Yeah,
it
like
is
somebody
somebody
once
else,
said,
but
"Wow, it's been
he
10
sold
years."
it,
I mean,
and
that
his
is
reasoning is
wild.
he's been working
I
at
mean, 'cause I
Fanatec.
started
He
as
is
a
a
fan
full-time
too,
employee
and
there.
I found it
He works from home, but
let's
he does
see,
work full-time hours
2017,
doing all kinds of
I
stuff for
started
them,
sim
mostly
racing
customer
in
service. So if you have a Fanatec problem and you call for customer service, you could end up talking to this guy, Darren Ganji. But basically, he just didn't have time for it anymore, between his new job and whatnot. So, and he's stepping away from the channel. So, congrats to Darren and well wishes. I mean, they have quite a following. This particular video called Darren's Farewell, I see 14,364 views so far.
But yeah,
congrats, Darren. Good for you, man.
We've had a great ride.
Yep, well done.
Jessica on the show for a long time, and I miss her.
I could only hope to have that many views someday of our stuff, but yeah, they really built a brand over there, and obviously it's going to continue with John, who's done a really good job and kind of has taken over gradually from Darren over the last year. He's kind of taken over his helm of the lead host anyway, and I think the channel's in good hands. I think John has a lot of good ideas, and he brings a lot to the table. So
come on the show or let himself be known. He'll do that, but he's.
All right. Good luck to Darren. Next is NIS team list. I thought this was interesting. Matt Busa. We talked about he was doing a stats thing on danlisa.com. And now he asked up on the forums, hey, can I get a list of people on the teams? So because he can actually do team points and whatnot, apparently, in these standings that he's coming up with for top split. So it was kind of interesting to peruse this forum post to see who is on what team, because there's a lot of movement as all the time, and so it's kind of hard to keep up. And a lot of people don't, openly publicize who's on what team, and it's kind of neat to have it all in one place. What do you guys think when you look through this?
Well, whatever Matt Busa is doing, I support that 100%. He's a class act. He and I and a couple other guys have been working on, with Nolan Scott, have been working this NIS thing since we were trying to reconfigure the NIS since the beginning of this year. So I'm really glad to see. I was doing the stats with him for a while in the beginning, and Matt took over for me. So I offered up some help. I think it's great that we're going to have the team list. I'm not going to provide my guys. It's a great idea, though, and I'm loving the stats. I'm a stats guy, so.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping he would do it for all the splits, but I know that would be probably too much work. But
Facebook page is cool.
Yeah.
Shameless plug there for the NIS Facebook page.
Yep.
Yeah, good for Matt.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed with what he's done with that danlisa.com stuff.
That's a great idea.
All right, Jason, what's up next?
Next, there was a poll posted on the forums by Brett Fossey. How much time do you spend on the forums? Been here once, couple times, few minutes a day, few minutes an hour, couple hours a day, or I never leave them. Or wait, what forum? Because you always have to have a troll answer.
So the most popular result, few minutes an hour. A few minutes to an hour at 35%. Second was few minutes a day at 28%. Third was a couple hours a day at 18%. Oh, where do you guys fit in here?
It's an ebb and flow for me. For a long time, I was very, very active, especially in the beginning when I thought I knew stuff. And then I went quiet for a while, and I had a lot of posts getting transferred over to other places. I didn't read the EULA very closely, so I talked to some people, and I went back and I read it, and I stopped posting for quite a long time. Those problems have seemed to have diminished at least a little bit, and now I have a new strategy about how I post, which is unfortunate, but that's what you got to do. So I would say I'm on the forums probably close to the least amount that I've ever been.
Yep. I would say I'm not your average iRacer because I'm gathering topics for this podcast. Is all the only time I spend on the forums, and I would say maybe a total of 30 to 45 minutes a week. Not much. I find what I need. I put it on the script. I might read it briefly just so I have some idea about what it's about, but that's it. I'm not perusing the forums, reading everything that's there. There's too much stuff.
Well, one of the things that is tricky about that question is in order to get to your messages, you need to go to the forums. And my PM box is full, like every day.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the PMs on this forum. They really need to update the forums to something modern.
Soon.
Soon, yeah. Hashtag soon. All right, Jason, what about you? Are you ever on the forums or?
I'd say I spend about 30 minutes a day kind of on my breaks at work. I do a lot more reading than I do posting. I'm more of a lurker in general. But if there's something, especially like with a new guy just starting out, I had a couple posts when I was a rookie and had some helpful people. So if I see one from a newbie that's being harassed, I definitely want to make sure that I keep them around and post some positive stuff, even if it's in a private message instead of a forum post. I always like to cater to the new guys.
Nice of you. All right, next topic. I called this one Hammer Time because, John, I knew you were going to be coming on, and I gathered a couple questions about some of your posts because you are on the forums. One of those is this excellent idea that I love that you were talking about. Hey, what if we took and had Peak be the top split of NIS, and Pro is also part of NIS, and all three of those things were all the same thing. Tell us more about this idea, John. I think it's just brilliant.
I probably deleted that one. There was a time actually when the NIS was the Pro Qualifier series for DWC. I really don't want the controversy that goes with the idea, but it seems logical anyway that if the service is somewhat diluted, I don't think anybody's going to argue that we have a lot of series and not enough racers. So it would seem like a logical idea to merge a bunch of these series kind of together and just make one super series out of it. I mean, we could still keep the A open, right? It's a good practice series. But if the NIS was Pro, the year before was Pro, and then that sends you into DWC the next year, and basically top split is the broadcast series, and you don't have to worry about all setting up all these different series, blah, 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 blah. And it's mimics. You can't mimic the real thing any closer than that. So
you just pick one of the starts?
yeah, the first one every Wednesday night, because they run them every Tuesday night right now.
Right.
Worst case, they shift to NIS Wednesday night to Tuesday night so that they don't have to rearrange because It's been Tuesday nights forever. So you move the Wednesday night to the Tuesday night. I don't know if that conflicts with the fixed series because I don't follow it, but I mean, it's just the general idea is to take the dilution and put it all back into one big, massive series. See what happens for a couple of years. I mean, what's the worst that happens? They revert back.
I love the idea because NASCAR wants to, endorse one series on iRacing, and they do. But it's like you said, all this dilution. Why not have the most popular series be even more popular, by mixing those things in? And I think it leads a lot to the population to say, hey, I'm running NIS. That's the same series that these peak drivers are racing for to win a bunch of cash and win a trip down to Homestead and, win a big check and all this other stuff. And I think it's cool that I'm in that same series. And if I get good enough, I can be in that same race,
Yeah, to me, it validates both of the series. It validates and puts more emphasis actually on the peak series because you're susceptible to maybe somebody in second split getting some iRating. You got to compete a lot. There's a lot more dedication and commitment to it. I don't think it'll ever happen. Honestly, it's just the politics at the highest level. I can't imagine the DWC drivers themselves wanting this to happen.
Oh no, they'd be afraid I'll fall out of the first split somehow, or if you don't have the guy rating.
Much. It's the commitment. I mean, it's every week.
Right, that's true. But isn't that the draw of NIS to begin with? I mean, that's why I like it, because it is 36 weeks, because that's what makes it a challenge, It's not a challenge when it's a 13-week crap,
I mean, what's iRacing pulling down? A couple hundred viewers on a popular night for the YouTube stream, live stream? I mean, honestly, if you combine the streams that are coming from the NIS race, I bet that there's just as many viewers from that. It's
right. Why not combine forces, right?
Yeah, combined forces. I don't know. It's probably too obvious to be good.
Yeah, I love it though. I think it's a great idea. It does make it both series more relevant. That's really the outcome there, and I think that's brilliant. But you should have left your post up.
I'd challenge them to do a poll, is what I would say. Send out a survey like they did recently, and send out a survey to all the user base, and just get an honest feedback on it, and publish the results.
Yeah, great idea. Let's okay, so let's jump to the next Hammer Time topic. Live telemetry in NASCAR on iRacing. You had a couple comments. There was a thread about this, so tell us what you're talking about.
Let's see. In NASCAR, everybody knows that you're not allowed to run any sort of telemetry other than what's coming from the PCM or the ECM, depending on how you look at it. And I believe the engine control module stuff is only delivered by NASCAR themselves, and I'm not sure if it's during the race. I'm not in NASCAR. I don't go to a lot of races. I don't know the details of that, but I know for sure they're not getting tire temperatures. They're not getting yaw rates. They're not getting, you're not getting 1 lap old data.
That's why they don't have the cell phone in the car rule, right?
Sure.
They're going to use that cell phone to somehow transmit telemetry.
There should not be telemetry allowed in the NASCAR series or the Dirt series. And a lot of people will say arguments where there's already other stuff permitted, like the virtual mirror, the mirrors in the dirt cars. And it's just people making wrongs on top of wrongs on top of wrongs. Telemetry is a big deal. Getting telemetry from NASCAR races and sim racing is a big deal. They have to do it though, because if the data that's coming from iRacing is also being fed to motion simulators. So if you cut off the telemetry and the SDK stuff, you're not going to get the Z1 info. You're going to be, back to
no gauges. Yeah. All that stuff.
Well, yeah, exactly. So I don't envy their position.
So are we in a good spot or not? I mean, they do withhold stuff like tire temps and whatnot, right?
No. The tire temps you can get live.
Oh.
Pretty much.
With Motec?
Yeah.
Okay.
The IBT file comes as soon as you hit the telemetry button. So you could have a Z1 or something with that information. I don't have a Z1. I don't know. I don't need it because I can use Motec. There's a delay. There's a buffer, so you can't use it for that. The information is only so good. The green flag runs are not long enough to really be of use, but it doesn't change the point. The counter to that is, that everybody has access to it. So, if everybody has access to it, then everybody has access to it, and there's no competitive advantage.
Yeah, but is everybody doing that? Is everybody using Motec to real time while they're in a race?
Doesn't change the fact that it's available to everybody, right?
Yeah.
It's not real time. it's got a buffer, it's delayed and everything, and you can only do so much with it.
I'm not worried about it. I mean, if somebody wants to try to do stuff like that, it doesn't concern me.
I'm not worried about it in bottom split, but I'm worried about it in top split. And when you talk about peak, when you're actually competing for cash, that's kind of an advantage that you wouldn't have in a normal NASCAR race. I like how the tire temp, just the black box that's built into the sim, it doesn't update until you pit stop, and that's when you would get your tire temps anyways. If there was some way to withhold the telemetry until that pit stop, but I'm not sure that there is. It's being out there, it's being tracked somehow, so it affects how you have grip. That variable is in the sim, and there's going to be all sorts of programs that can mine it.
Yeah, but what advantage does it give you? You just know what changes you're going to make, you know?
Stuff. Things and stuff.
All right, let's get into the next Hammer Time topic. I wanted to talk to you about this one, and this has been going on for quite some time. It's an ongoing discussion about peak versus NIS versus how many grooves are on the track versus how many cars are on the track versus how many laps are done in a race. The very similar stuff going on a lot of those fronts, but it seems like the NIS has different grip levels than the Pro. And so there's a lot of talk about what is going on there. John, did I explain that right, or what do you think?
Yeah. So I don't work at iRacing, so I don't know anything about their code. You know, all disclaimers aside, the problem seems extremely simple to me. It's so blatantly obvious that there's a piece of code somewhere that is simply not recognizing the correct number of cars, or it's limited, or it doesn't start working correctly until the right number of cars are there, or there's some old surface model code in there, because this surface model acts, at least in the race in NIS, just like it did last year. And we had a bunch of last minute changes that came, you know, with Matt calling iRacing and us trying to get the schedule the way that it was before with the last minute changes that, to me, and I'm speculating, this is 100% speculation, that it's just last year's NIS push forward. And because of that, we're not
as far as the new tire model.
Well, I don't know what exactly it is. I don't think it's a tire model. I think it's an older version of the surface model, is my speculation.
The track model, surface model, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
A
I
Open
mean, it could
last
be.
night, though. The A Open in Michigan last night. I mean, we had a pretty black groove, so it'll be interesting to see what happens in NIS on Wednesday, tomorrow night. The surface model is key, though, because we don't have multiple abrasive qualities on the zones of the track. I do landscape architecture and I deal with a lot of asphalt. I do. And the asphalt at a racetrack, if you look at it 3 inches away, is a lot different up at the top of the banking where there's not a lot of activity versus the initial groove, and the track changes tremendously. And I'm not even there. I'm not a crew chief or anything, but when you go to the actual asphalt tracks like Stafford, I mean, it's the same issues. So the surface model is critical for dealing with us having one asphalt for all of the specific track. There might be two. There's probably one for the apron and pit road.
Right.
So what happens, right, is if you're in the groove and the abrasive quality of the track and the groove is the same as it is out of the groove, your tires don't wear any different out of the groove than they do in the groove. And you can see this in telemetry, you can see it in the garage. What should happen is when you move into a more abrasive part of the track, you should be wearing the tires more in an abrasive way, like shedding rubber off of the tire. And that keeps the tire cooler in some ways because it takes the surface heat off. but you also end up with less percent rubber left, and the car handles different. And you'll
Yeah,
hear the
there's
drivers
something
talk
there's
about it.
something weird there though. Yeah, for sure.
To me, it's like they need to crank it up like 4 or 5 times. Just because they
effect.
don't have they just don't have the real abrasion qualities of the track all over the track. Even though it's laser scanned, they assign, asphalt like 1, 2, 3, or 4 to the surface.
Yeah. Yeah, the iRacing, Tyler Hudson, indicated on this thread at some point, hey, we're looking into it, So they've at least acknowledged it. I don't know if they've acknowledged there's a problem, but
They're good people. They recognize that it's not right. I'm sure they'll get it fixed.
all right, good to hear. All right, Jason, what's up next?
Up next is a video that was posted on NASCAR.com. It's a hot lap on Watkins Glen saying how easy
Watkins
it
Glen
is.
International is really pretty easy. We're going to show you right here on iRacing. Past the start finish line, hard on the gas right here. Now we're going to dip way down
of an
and have
absolutely
to go,
awful lap
around
Watkins Glen.
Give me a second.
Yeah, this is really funny. I had to laugh at this. This is on NASCAR's NASCAR.com. And which obviously got a ton of views. And it's basically NASCAR Chasm taking a lap at Watkins Glen and iRacing, and he goes off in turn 1, and completely misses it.
Here's when the track gets really, really
he loops it a few times, and goes into the gravel trap and slaps the tires once, and it's just hilarious.
Really hard right here because we're coming up on what's known as the bus stop chicane, where we'll cut through. Hold on.
But very funny, and pretty neat that they use iRacing as a comical tool over there at NASCAR.com.
A lot of grip for a good launch out of this turn. You want grip coming out of there.
All right, next up.
Very key.
Yeah, go ahead.
The captions that are added to the video
turn 5, and we're going to. Where are we now?
Yeah. If you haven't seen that, check that out at NASCAR.com. Pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I know where we are. That was, and I blame.
Next up,
right.
On Twitter, Cy Andra on Twitter, one of the iRacers, has put together a video and put it up on Twitter about the Cube Map feature doing reflections and saying, hey, it's never looked better. And he basically put a video together looking back at a car that's racing him, and you could see the reflections on the paint of both cars of the other car. And, as the sun is hitting it or reflecting off of it, or the image of the car is off, reflecting off the sheen of the paint, and really points it out pretty neat. And I've really never noticed that it was really that good. But, like a mirror image in the sheen of the paint, you can see.
They did a good job with that. It's much better.
So it hasn't been like that, right? That's something new, fairly new.
No, they fixed that reflections with that new mapping, so.
Yeah. And this video really points it out good. Pretty cool. If you want to check it out, look up Twitter at SAI Racing is his handle. SAI Racing. Okay, what's next?
Next, the 2017 500 kilometers of Road America is coming up on August 18th. And Jack Davidson posted up on a thread talking about whether this is a team event or a solo event. And he used some historical accuracy. In 1989, the Road America 500 featured some solo drivers, but mostly teams of 2. So for the sake of historical accuracy, we are allowing both to race. So the Road America 500 on August 18th, you can be solo or on a team of 2.
Pretty cool. So 500, now help me understand, 500 kilometers, so how long a race is that? Does it really need a team?
From the thread, it's about a 2.5 hour to 3 hour race.
Okay. Not sure why you'd run a team event for a 3 hour race, but Guess you could. All right, pretty cool.
I got nothing for that.
All right, next up on Twitter, Steve Myers from iRacing, twittering with Cruz Pedregon and Ron Capps. They're basically pestering him about, hey, maybe iRacing can do some funny cars next. And what do you guys think? Drag racing on iRacing is that feasible?
I believe Dwayne LaPrade runs a league called Drag Kings, and they race at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and it's drag racing, and they rotate cars, and it's hella fun. I was on it for a while.
So how
So
do you
there are-
handle the starting tree thing, or all that stuff?
I think they count down.
Verbal countdown.
Yep. It's been a
Right.
while, but it's pretty awesome.
I mean, they have track. I mean, you have Sonoma, Vegas, like you said. I mean, Sonoma's
Maybe
got
it's-
the track.
It might be Sonoma, there's where they do it, but there's a way to go around the track to get to the drag strip.
Yeah,
And they race
Sonoma
on it.
definitely has a drag strip in the middle of it.
It's pretty cool. Yeah,
I'd
there's a
like
future
to. I'd
for it.
like to see. I mean, it shouldn't be too hard for iRacing to configure a Christmas tree light with
What's that tire
some
model
timing
like?
lines.
What's that tire model look like?
Well, good point. I mean, can you imagine how hard that would be to kind of do the physics on a top fuel dragster? With the spinning of the tires and the nitro and all that.
Yeah, we can wait on that.
Longitudinal slip. Shots fired.
All right, pretty cool. Next up, hardware, software. Let's talk about keyboards. David Tucker posted up some answers to a backlit keyboard question. Basically, posting up what settings in the app INI you can change to control the keyboard backlight behaviors. And I thought that was pretty interesting, but there's a section in the app INI called external displays, and there's several settings in there, like enable LED flags equals 1. You can set it to 0 to turn off flag animation. So if it's set to 1, then it obviously works, and so forth. So if I buy a new keyboard, man, I think I'm going to definitely get one of these ones that do colors. It's pretty cool. And another interesting, the last item in this list is phone can steer equals 1. It allows your phone device to act as a steering wheel.
That's
Now
been
that's
around for
scary.
a while, actually. That's been around for a while.
You think people race with their iPhone?
Let's just say that I don't think they do, but it sure looks like they do.
Exactly. All right,
sometimes
what's
that's me,
next?
though.
Next, Oculus Rift. The good, the bad, the amazing, the ugly.
Before you get too far there, I'm probably going to head out here, guys. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming, John. You're always welcome. It's been a good hour. We're running a little long, but yeah, thanks for coming. So, see you next time.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks to all the guys at Premiere and Black Hole. We'll catch you later.
All right,
Thank you, John.
cool.
User disconnected from your channel.
So
this,
Oculus Rift, huh?
this thread is kind of a review on what they think the good, the bad, the amazing, the ugly, and this is posted by William Wright. It's actually in the Lotus 49 forums, just because that's where he races, no other reason. But he literally calls it a game changer, and it saves a load of space. He has a lot of screenshots of his setup, of his seat with his rig, how much space it takes out, downsides of requiring very high-end computer components, hard to interact with the real world. But really is talking about there's a whole new world out there that you just don't realize until you put that headset on.
Yeah, no going back is what he was saying. What caught my eye on this thread was his cockpit. His first picture shows his cockpit with triple monitors, really nice setup. He's kind of got it in the corner of a bedroom. And then he shows a second picture with the triples gone, and he's just got a small center monitor, and this is his Oculus setup. He got rid of the triples completely, and it's such a smaller footprint. The amount of space that you need versus the Oculus versus the triple monitor, and it's just interesting to see side by side, comparison of wow, it really does save a lot of space.
The heat was a concern that he listed. It fits pretty snugly and doesn't allow any heat to escape. So he races with a small fan next to his seat to help, but it's still pretty warm for him.
That's the thing. That's my biggest fear of Oculus is, dang, it's too hot for that. I live in Arizona. There's no way. I'm already sweating without having a big thing on my head, All right, that's kind of a neat thread. Next up, DIY Wind Simulator. And Richard Magnaughton from Australia posted up in the forums his now this was an old post that got resurrected, and I put it on here because, and I think we might have even talked about this on a previous podcast many moons ago, but it's such a cool idea that I wanted to bring it up again. It's basically where you could take small computer fans, hook up some wiring and electronics, and basically create wind that blows in your face or at you as you're iRacing. And obviously the amount of wind coming from the fan is variable depending on how fast or slow you're going in your car.
The video that he uses to demonstrate it, it's got the little gauge there where you can see how strong the wind is blowing, and it uses a roller coaster simulator, so it has ups and downs, and there's a lot of increase and decrease of speed with the slowing down and speeding up from the different heights and different hills. So it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, and tons of pictures about what it looks like, how to do it, how to wire it up, etc., etc. And if you're interested in putting this together, you got to find this 20-page thread and check it out. There's a lot of people who have tried this and obviously have made it work. I'm very intrigued, but it looks like you got to be pretty handy to put one of these things together. There's a lot of wiring and electronics and stuff, obviously. All right, what's next?
Next, Z1 Sim Wheel has a new wheel. It is the Sam Maxwell SMZ1 wheel, a state-of-the-art current F1 tech-inspired wheel, a 1/4-inch thick solid piece of carbon fiber with cast-in-place urethane rubber hand grips. 10 buttons, 4 3-way momentary toggles, 6 rotary switches. It looks extremely slick. The little display on the wheel matches pretty much exactly what it looks like in the sim, and it's fully compatible with the Z1 dashboard software for those updates.
Yeah, wow. It is nice. It's a true Formula One style wheel with the display right on the wheel. Now, this is just the wheel. This is not the base that you have to plug the wheel into. And I think they actually announced this product 2 or 3 months ago, and we talked about it, but there was not pricing. But why I'm talking about it today is, guess what? I found pricing finally on their website. It ranges from $1,863 to $2,104, depending on which base you have. There's 5 bases to choose from. There's wheel side Q1R, both side Q1R, AccuForce, Fanatec Club Sport V2, and Thrustmaster adapter. But boy, if I ever get a wheel, it won't be like this one. I want an oval wheel. I want a round wheel with a big old push-to-talk button on it.
A push-to-talk button that makes everyone else talk to you. You can't stay silent.
Pretty nice wheel there. All right, next up, real racing in the iRacing world. Ty Majeski ended up with a second place finish after Kyle Busch got disqualified in a late model race. I think Kyle Busch won it. He got disqualified post-race tech. Ty had finished third, and that moved him to second. So what's interesting, guess what? iRacing is on the hood of his car for that race. That was August 1st. So I guess iRacing is still sponsoring him, but only on the late model side. So as you might have known, the last time Ty Majeski ran the Xfinity Series, they had Bit O Honey on the car, and iRacing was off the car. So I'm not sure what's going on with that sponsorship.
Still at least a partial partnership that they're getting, and he makes our podcast every week because of it. So
that's right. And he's the highest rated iRating person on the planet with like over 10,100 iRating.
Hashtag humble brag.
All right, what's next?
Next, there was a podcast from Dale Jr. talking about iRacing. Dale was mentioning they don't use iRacing in the NASCAR simulators, but iRacing has interest in being involved with teams more. Dale says iRacing is better than what the teams are using. It's dated. It's up to manufacturers to push it forward. And in his opinion, iRacing is as good as it gets.
Yep, I heard this, the Dale Jr. download. I listen to it every week, about Monday or Tuesday typically. But this week, I was surprised to hear him talk about iRacing. And they were really talking about the NASCAR simulators that are really popular this year. Chevy has one in North Carolina there, as well as Ford and Toyota. And that's what he's referring to is the Chevy, Ford, and Toyota simulators that Dale has been using a lot recently. And they use some kind of older, dated system. Now, he didn't say what it is. I think it might be a version of R Factor, but I'm not certain. But I thought it was interesting that Dale said, hey, iRacing is better than what these guys are using. And what they're using is dated. So what do you think about iRacing getting involved with NASCAR, or not nearly NASCAR, but the manufacturers, Chevy, Toyota, Ford, in getting their simulators updated? I mean, that must be a gold mine opportunity for iRacing.
I think it comes down to one of those that the manufacturers may want to keep that in-house rather than pay an ongoing license to iRacing. I mean, we know the accuracy. We see the real-life race drivers get on iRacing, and they say to practice the tracks. We've read the articles about even down to a specific bump on a specific turn. It's there. The accuracy is there. The physics is really close. But I think a manufacturer that has invested millions in their own simulator software and their own simulator development, are they going to want to turn around, close their development, and license iRacing instead, which likely won't be a cheap contract either, maybe not $20 million or anything. But iRacing will get their money out of it if they decide to go that partnership. But it's just kind of an investment and control perspective, I think, from the manufacturers.
I mean, you're right. They're so heavily invested, they can't really start over, that they probably won't. is what you're saying. I understand that, but boy, there's a lot of talk of new manufacturers coming into the sport. If I was a new manufacturer coming in and I had to start, my own simulator, boy, I'd be hiring iRacing to build it for me.
Yeah, if you don't have millions invested already, there's no reason investing millions when you have something that is just as good, if not better, than the high-end simulators.
Yeah. And I'm sure iRacing would love the opportunity. And I saw some Twitters from Steve Myers that indicated as much. I mean, he said he indicated it was a Q&A kind of thing, but he indicated what I remember. There's been discussion with some manufacturers about it, but nothing concrete. Pretty cool. Well, next up is a post by Chase Briscoe, who's the truck driver in the NASCAR series. He let Austin Cindric, who's another truck driver, test the new rally stuff that he apparently has access to. Apparently, rally's in beta now on iRacing in his own personal rig at his home. And he put up a video of Austin taking some laps. And it's a pretty awesome cockpit. It's a motion rig. It's by a company called RLAPS, which means Race Like a Pro Simulators. They're out of Brownsburg, Indiana. Their website is rlaps.com. And what I saw when I clicked on their Twitter page, RLAPS, wow, they have this picture on their home screen, their banner, with a 5-screen setup simulator, motion simulator, where they have 5 screens turned vertically, all lined up in a half circle. And I've always wanted to do a 5-screen setup, and this is the most awesome 5-screen setup I've ever seen.
The rig they have in the Twitter video is an Oculus rig, actually. And the sound, you can definitely hear the shifting, because those rallycross cars, just the transmissions sound a lot jerkier when they shift, and you can tell from the force feedback how much he's fighting it. So they look to be coming along pretty good with it.
Awesome rig. I mean, he's got a proper race seat that's got the shoulder pads on the sides that kind of hold your shoulders into the seat. But yeah, no, I don't see any monitors. He's got the Oculus on, and pretty cool video. All right, what's next?
Next, William Tregurtha posted that he was sporting the iRacing colors for a podium finish at British GT at Brands Hatch. He's got the iRacing.com logo actually on the back of his helmet, and then a picture of his car coming under the big Brands Hatch sign.
Yeah, I don't know this racer, but he's obviously a real racer in the British GT series. But he has a big old iRacing sticker on the back of his Hans device, actually. And anyway, he was real proud of his podium finish. And so I thought I'd mention it on the podcast. We always appreciate these real race car drivers acknowledging iRacing. Pretty cool. Final topic is Fanatec is hiring. They're looking to hire 3 people. If you're a team member on the team, you actually get a new direct drive wheelbase for free. They're looking for a quality manager, a PR manager, and a customer care / technical support person. And so they have detailed job descriptions and contact us information on their website at fanatec.com. Pretty cool. It would be neat to work in the industry, I think, for a lot of us. Kind of a neat opportunity. I'm just wondering where they're based now. I'm going to look.
And that direct drive wheelbase offer, that's not just for Fanatec employees. Anyone that refers someone that gets hired, whether they're an employee or not, they'll send that direct drive wheelbase to them for free.
Oh, just for the referral. Nice. I still haven't seen where they're based out of, though. But pretty cool. Yeah, if you're interested, check it out. Let's go into final thoughts. Jason, what do you got?
Final thoughts that I have, again, I want to mention the Fight Like a Girl 200, presented by Turn 3 Motorsports. It's a charity race for Brad and Melissa Miller. Brad Miller used to be a contributor to this podcast, and that race is going to be held August 26th. They're starting practice at 6 p.m. Eastern. The race starts at 7 p.m. Eastern. It is going to be broadcast on Race Spots, a 43-car field in the 8-car open setup at Homestead, Miami. Myself and Justin Laird are signed up to race. If you want to race, they still have plenty of spots available. I believe there were 16 signed up last time I looked. We really want to get a full field for Brad and Melissa, get all the support that they can, and show how much the iRacing community is there for our own racers. So the prizes, they're given gift cards to the top 3. All been donated, so 100% of entry and 100% of the donations are going straight to Brad and Melissa Miller. If you want to look at how to donate or how to enter, if you just search on the forums for Fight Like a Girl 200, you will see a forum post that gives you all the details. I'm also planning to stream it, and we'll be doing some anyone that donates to the stream, I'm going to forward on to them when we're racing. So hope to see you guys there.
Nice. And that's 2 weeks from Saturday. If you're going to sign up, folks, do it now. There's lots of spots open. Okay, so we need to get a full field here. So help them out, man. Check it out. Fight Like a Girl 200. That's a great final thought. I guess my final thoughts are, boy, I'm happy the team's growing. I've been having fun with a lot of new people, meeting new people. We've been bringing on new people. Justin Laird has joined up with us. We got another new recruit we've been talking to last night and today, who's looking very promising. So real excited about that. Exciting to have teams. Teams ebb and flow. And we talked about this earlier, like John was talking about with his team as he transitioned his team from one set of people to another, basically. It happens, It's not that the team's bad. It's not that the people are bad. It's not anything like that. I mean, the people that were on my team before are great people. But things change, and it's always nice when you get a fresh blood in and get some ideas going. So with that being said, Jason, you had some ideas to do some different things with the podcast. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, before the podcast was getting posted on YouTube and also being streamed. This podcast here is actually recording as a test video that we'll go over, see how we can improve that production and start getting these up on YouTube. But stay tuned. YouTube, Twitch could be coming back soon, or doing some streaming on YouTube in lieu of Twitch. So a lot of the video stuff is what I'm looking to bring back to the podcast.
All right. So we're going to have a video stream, video at least on YouTube, where you guys can see some of these links that we're reading about and clicking on, these forum posts, these Twitter posts. So if you're interested in following us on YouTube, you're going to have that option again. We used to do that in the past. I'm glad Jason's here to pick up that torch and take it on. Pretty awesome. I'm excited about it. So it's just another place you can get our podcast. Again, we're available on iTunes, Google Play Store, Stitcher, you name it, TuneIn, Podbean, every single. I don't think there's one of them out there I'm not on. If you guys know of one, let me know, because I think I've put the podcast everywhere you can possibly put it. But obviously iTunes is the place to get it. So now YouTube. So check that out. And with that being said, we'll see you.
Take it easy.